With Chris Pratt's new futuristic crime thriller Mercy, you might be thinking this has a lot of similarities to the Tom Cruise film Minority Report. But with this recent outing, we're not dealing with PreCogs. Instead, watching an AI Rebecca Ferguson become judge, jury, and executioner. In the near future, a detective stands on trial accused of murdering his wife. He has 90 minutes to prove his innocence to the advanced AI judge he once championed before it determines his fate. Now, in addition to the two actors I mentioned, this also features Callie Reese, Annabelle Wallace, and Chris Sullivan. And it's directed by a dude who has done some visually spectacular films, like Wanted, and then both Night Watch and Day Watch. Timur Bekmambetov typically excels in action thrillers. With Mercy, he delivers some pressure cooker tension and explosive action. Now, the visuals for this, they're intriguing, and they create this convincing virtual evidence locker of types, where the bare-bones cold courtroom features pop-up screens and displays that appear all around Pratt's character, who's locked in a chair while he's on trial. I know this isn't anything new, we've seen setups like this before, but I found it impressive when the room would become the scene, enveloping Pratt in whatever the surrounding happened to be, whether that be with the crime scene or in the middle of a raging fire. And it looked good, especially when presented ridiculously huge in IMAX 3D. Now, love him or hate him, Pratt effectively sold the disheveled and confused murder suspect. His banter is quick when it needs to be. It's not witty, but just adept in his responses, quickly transitioning through all of the emotions that a cop on trial for murder trying to prove his innocence would go through. Rebecca Ferguson plays the AI judge. She's in this Darth Vader type getup, making her even more chilling and threatening than the character I think is designed to be. And for so much of this, she's almost unblinking, looking not so much stoic, but determined, maybe even callous. The AI is supposed to be emotionless, and she accomplishes this to a degree, but there are some small quirks to the character that didn't quite fit with the description of the AI system that we're provided with, especially in her facial expressions. I wish we had gotten the same level of exposure and detail with all of the other characters in the film. They're each sporadically shown, and then only for brief moments, creating a jumpy cadence that implies urgency but removes attachment or even relatability. And because the majority of this is shown to us through Pratt's perspective as he's held on trial, a bunch of the movie has this found footage sort of quality to it, showing us replays of social media, traffic cams, cell videos, even live feeds from the police. Now, I know it's not technically found footage, but it's rare in this that we're in a location with the other characters as the actions are playing out. It's almost a bit like in Chronicle, where every available camera around is just tapped into to provide the necessary views that we need. What this also ends up, though, creating is a disconnect from many of the characters. Pratt's wife, played by Annabelle Wallace, is actually barely shown here. We get very brief glimpses, with the only real sympathetic portion coming from the fact that she's a wife and mom who gets herself dead. And even though I've listed several positives to Mercy, the execution, it's just kind of there. Like, it's fine. It's not horrid, and it's certainly not awesome. The mystery angle I found to be very predictable, which meant the only suspense that was truly left was an extreme action sequence and then the realization that Pratt may not get out of the chair that's going to kill him. The plot also feels ham-fisted with a social commentary on crime, government overreach, privacy, and then the boundaries that should exist in the balance of police investigations and the supposed greater good. Now, the narrative, it was rather preachy at the start. And I really do love a good social commentary. This one, though, lacked subtlety and nuance, creating a more clunky attempt to relay its message. That's kind of a shame, too, because the story does have some relevance for what's taking place in the US right now, and it could make a decent point. It's just not delivered effectively. The pacing for this is pretty efficient, only adding 10 minutes to the 90-minute virtual trial. And a lot of that comes from including multiple plot conveniences that allow characters to conduct inquiries in extremely compressed timelines, putting together clues in minutes rather than an amount of time that actually feels more reasonable. The production comes across like a massive budget streaming film, kind of like when Netflix did Red Notice. Tons of money and promotion, a theatrical release, and a very lackluster experience. And that's exactly what we get with Mercy. It's an Amazon MGM Studios production, so it will go to Prime Video at some point, but that's where it should have originated. When everything is shaken out within the plot, this is a semi-mystery wrapped in an awkward AI commentary with some decent thrills, but little originality or longevity. Rebecca Ferguson is appropriately detached as a presence, somehow still managing to insert a tiny bit of humanity into her generated persona. Chris Pratt comes across as passionate and convincing, but the character isn't written to have depth, rushing him into a police procedural to incite urgency, even if it is manufactured. With a predictable storyline and an overly aggressive societal critique, Mercy appears to know what it wants to say. It's just not equipped enough to convey it effectively. There's no sex or nudity, some profanity, and then some violence. I give Mercy 2.5 out of 5 couches. Have you seen any decent action thrillers lately? I know this one hasn't come out yet, but at least at the recording of this, but I'm really looking forward to The Wrecking Crew on Prime. I mean, it's not like I think this is going to be brilliant. It just looks like it could be a bunch of fun. Let me know what you've seen, though, in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.